Apex is being killed, and I've created a timeline of how it's being killed. And a lot of you may say, calling Apex dead is overdone, but currently, Apex has a player count nearly 4 times lower than we had less than 2 years ago. And we've nearly hit the lowest player count since records began. So what is the timeline of the issues that caused this, and can Apex recover? I got the idea of a timeline from this Reddit post and realized this can be elaborated on massively. This person tries to justify why Apex's player count has halved in under a year. And I expanded with my own timeline of events which I think have caused this. And this timeline starts in September 2023, which is where a lot of the outward-facing issues of Apex started to brew. The first issue on the timeline is the last Legend heirloom we've ever seen was released in the Harbingers event. But hear me out for a second, because I'm not saying players are leaving the game because Respawn are creating less heirlooms, but instead it's the domino effect from Respawn releasing the last Legend-specific heirloom that caused a lot of the drama and a lot of the hatred towards Respawn, which would have driven a few players away. Because, onto the next point, a few months later in early January, we got our first milestone event. And this event type is a product of Respawn deciding to move from Legend-specific heirlooms to universal heirlooms, which we've seen an emerging pattern of lately. This first milestone event ever, which was the Final Fantasy event, brought a lot of drama. First of all, because Respawn introduced the first mythic death box ever, which was a joke. It was a death box that cost hundreds of dollars. Secondly, a lot of people took many issues with this event due to the nature of having to gamble for an heirloom. And then, on top of that, the skins that should have been legendary tier cost way more than legendary should. This first milestone event caused a lot of drama. People weren't happy that Respawn were forcing their fans to gamble for cool items. And unfortunately, this was just the beginning. This drama was definitely the last straw for a lot of players, and also frustrated many more, as they slowly realised Respawn don't care and will push gambling to you if it makes money. And it only gets worse from here, unfortunately. The next mark in the timeline was taken from the Reddit post, but it's a very controversial mark that I don't think drove away many players, but started to show a pattern of Respawn's approach to the game, as controller tap strafe was removed. Basically, there was an emergent issue of people on controllers using things like Steam configs to do impossible controller movements, like tap strafing and even moving while looting boxes. I think this video right here was definitely the apex of the drama, where a player basically created legal cheats using Steam configs and also CFGs. So not long after this, Respawn did decide to heavily regulate in-game configs and also Steam configs, which made sure controller players and some keyboard and mouse players would be playing properly without any help from robots, basically. This is going to be a bit controversial, and I don't think many people left because of this, but once again, the Reddit user saw this as important, and I'm sure many people will remember this event, and it showed Respawn's new approach to controllers, as will be later relevant in the timeline. The next peg on the timeline is the Shadow Society event, where Respawn took all of the feedback from the first milestone event, which was the Final Fantasy event, and then made the events worse. In the Shadow Society event, they removed the free event pack you get as soon as you start the event up. They also removed the ability to individually buy legend skins instead of having to gamble for them, and then added another mythic death box despite everybody clowning them. This event was terrible once again. It caused a lot of people to get mad at the game, and the videos talking about it had a lot of people openly saying they were just going to quit the game because Respawn clearly didn't care. Respawn kept showing again and again that they literally did not care at all. Around the same time this event came out though, there was a lot more drama to pile on top, which would literally make a lot of people quit the game out of fears of having everything, including their computer or Xbox, compromised. And this was the ALGS hack. Possibly the most infamous day in Apex's history where people decided to straight up quit the game out of fear. And this was the ALGS hack, aka the Destroyer 2009 hack. Basically, it was a normal night for Apex ALGS. Play Apex was hosting a stream showing the event, and all the players were trying the hardest, until a small bit into the event where it started getting weird. In one of the endgames where Dark Zero was holding out a position, arguably the most popular player and one of the most popular Apex players overall, Jem Burton, had his computer hacked, and Apex cheats injected into his game, which caused him to hit impossible shots without him even realizing. As he was hacked and the cheat menu popped up, the chat was spammed, hacked by Random and Destroyer 2009. It seemed at the time Jem Burton's computer had been compromised and they'd injected Apex cheats onto his computer to embarrass him and make a spectacle at an important Apex event, which it did make a spectacle of. But then people started getting worried when Imperial Hal, who was also in the same game, got hacked as well. Hal also had cheats injected onto his computer and was forced to use cheats in the game, which was a terrible look, and revealed to many people that this exploit might not just be these specific pro players getting their computers hacked and infiltrated. It may be in fact a remote code execution hack where the hackers can enter people's computers and download hacks, cheats, files and spyware on them through Apex's process, meaning if you launched Apex, they had access to your computer. And because this was the most major theory at the time, a lot of people ran with it and thought, well, I'm just not going to launch Apex, so I don't risk getting a virus put on my computer. And justifiably so. These players' machines being compromised by issues within Apex's process was the leading theory at the time, and a lot of official advice was just to not log into Apex and find another game to play, which inadvertently led to many players quitting the game. Obviously, some came back once the issues were fixed and Respawn announced it was safe to play the game, and they were working on making security better for Apex, but at that time, a lot of people had just decided never to launch Apex again. It's not worth the hassle combined with the recent drama. We never actually got to know how this hack was achieved, whether it was actually through a remote code execution exploit within Apex's process, basically allowing hackers to access anybody's computer who has launched Apex, or it was just a vulnerability within these two players' computers. There were many theories, which were disproven, but from interviews with the actual hacker Destroyer 2009, it seems it may have been an Apex-related issue, which makes many people's decision to quit Apex justifiable. And once again, this led to a massive drop in Apex's players. But guess what? It keeps getting worse, because soon we move on to Season 21, where the season was looking bright. We were getting a brand new legend, and also a pretty swanky map update, but there were a few issues with the launch of the season that many people took issue with. First of all, Respawn removed duos and didn't add it back for the whole season, which drove a lot of people who simply played with one friend or hated trios away from the game. And also, one of the main marketing points from Respawn for Season 21 was the new customizable universal heirloom, which cost a ridiculous amount of money and required a new currency that Respawn had to add to the game, and this new currency cost actual money, which would further annoy people because in the players' eyes, instead of Respawn fixing the game, they were just adding more and more ways to spend your money in it, and also confusing the game systems a lot. Why do we need this many currencies? Fortnite has like one currency. In reality, these days legend tokens are useless unless you're under level 50, so I'm sure these could be reworked in some way. And also, exotic shards are just ridiculous and only benefit people who pay a lot of money for stupid skins in the game. Season 21 caused one of the most noticeable declines to Apex's player count, to the point where when you zoom out, you can see Season 21 caused so many people to leave the game. There were many issues within Season 21, but I think a lot of people just got fed up with Respawn's antics. Yes, they brought back solos, but they removed duos instead. Yes, they brought heirloom customization, but at an insane entry cost. Yes, they brought content, but the season launched with a milestone event. You see what I'm getting at? There were good decisions, but Respawn just kept getting greedier and greedier. And guess what? This greed wasn't the end for Season 21, as when we were firmly in the second half of the season, Respawn decided to announce some plans they had for a Battle Pass rework, which sounded awesome because the Battle Pass hadn't really changed since Season 1. Until we read between the lines. Respawn wanted to rework the Battle Pass by splitting it into two and making it more bang for your buck and worth the money. This was until people decided to read a bit more into the details and realised this would mean Respawn would completely remove the option to buy Battle Passes with Apex coins, instead opting to give people a $9.99 microtransaction instead, meaning it completely screwed over the large majority of the player base that used the Battle Pass in this way. Buy a Battle Pass for 950 coins, complete the Battle Pass, get over 950 Apex coins back, buy the next Battle Pass, and do this forever without having to spend new money on Apex. This would completely screw over those people, which caused the community's reaction and even people who don't even play Apex's reaction to be very, very negative. And even though now a lot of you know Respawn did reverse this change, it took them such a long time. It took them several weeks to reverse this change. It took several weeks of the community begging and pleading for Respawn not to do this, only for them to begrudgingly amend the Battle Pass changes, adding a 950 Apex coin option, but still keeping the weird Ultimate Plus tiers which lock exclusive skins behind a paywall, but may I remind you, these skins are only exclusive for 1 year, and when they changed the battle pass price from $9.99 to 950 Apex coins, they sneakily removed a lot of the packs they promised to give players for free on the $9.99 version of the battle pass. After this drama, Respawn seriously had to fix the relationship with their fans because the whole internet hated them. Not even just the Apex space, the news spread far beyond that. Even Call of Duty accounts were roasting Apex's decision. So they decided to put out the first positive part on this timeline, where Respawn for the first time in years actually acknowledged that there was a cheater issue in the game. There were issues with the game's stability and they should release quality of life updates. And the only reason they ever released this, acknowledging these issues, was because of huge drama around the battle pass where they had to make their public image look better. Otherwise they would not have released this. They would have just kept going as normal. Seriously, do you realize how insane that is? They only apologized about major flaws in the game and recognized these major flaws because people were mad at them. But the damage was done. This drama caused a lot of people just to give up on Apex and not even try Season 22. Look at the spike for Season 22's release. A very low amount of people decided to come and check out the new season, and most of them left within a week. Respawn had seriously damaged their game. And it's not even like Season 22 was a lackluster season at release. They released a city map which people have been requesting for years, but the trust had already gone. The final peg the Reddit post decided to make, and I do kind of agree with, is the aim assist nerf which came out in Season 22. Yes, it was needed, but once again, we do have to recognise that this change was controversial and definitely pushed a lot of players away from the game who did rely on aim assist. There is definitely a level of greyness to this timeline, because a lot of you may enjoy some of the pegs in this, like the aim assist nerf, but we do have to admit it did drive away players. Not saying that Respawn should have never made these changes, it's just the fact that they should be noted. And that timeline takes us from 624k players playing the game at one time as a daily peak to 171k, a 3.4 times decrease in players, which is just insane in the span of less than 2 years. Obviously, this timeline isn't the be-all end-all. There are overarching issues to this timeline, like the cheater issue which has been ongoing, matchmaking issues that have been ongoing, and server issues that have been ongoing. But these issues have been with the game since the start. The player count has increased with these issues, and it will also decline with these issues. I don't think cheaters can be attributed to killing the game. I think it's just loads of little missteps from Respawn that have added up to an insane amount of drama. So the question obviously is, can Respawn save the game, because it's not in a good state with the player numbers now? Well, I think they can, but they're gonna have to try really hard. I did see a really good point from somebody on Twitter that applies to Apex, that games have profit goals, and the more players that leave the game, the harder it gets to hit these profit goals for the big companies like EA. So they make the game more predatory with the purchases and add a lot more things to purchase, which then drives more people away from the game. And this issue keeps compacting upon itself until the game's dead. And Apex is quite obviously falling into that trap. They only started adding these crazy ways to spend your money once players started declining. Also, I'm slightly concerned EA's faith in Apex has completely gone and they might just cease funding to the game, because they are trying to build a new Battle Royale experience in Battlefield 6. If you're not aware, Battlefield 6 is going to have a Battle Royale. And also, if you're not aware, Apex is EA's absolute cash cow. So if Apex dies, EA loses a lot of money, which is why they will probably want to replace it with Battlefield Battle Royale. Although Respawn are trying, they have tried to improve the new player experience a lot and added a lot of tools to make new players feel welcome to the game, including a battle pass exclusive to new players, and also next season the rumors are they're bringing back an OG mode, which will definitely bring back players, and adding Lifeline Reborn to the game. Will this fix all of the issues and restore people's trust in Apex? I don't think so. It's a long road ahead, and if Respawn can weather out the storm without cracking under the pressure of players leaving the game, they can bring Apex back. Hell, Fortnite did it, but it's going to be hard. But make sure to subscribe to me to see what Respawn do next.